The vase shattered against my cheekbone before I even understood what was happening. It wasn't just the pain. It was the silence that followed. 100 tiny glass pieces glittered across the hardwood floor, like a reflection of every time I'd tried to stay invisible. My sister Chloe stood over me, chest heaving. "You think people don't notice?" she spat. "The way you smile when they talk about you at church? You love it, don't you?" Her voice cracked, but it wasn't from guilt. It was from envy, something I'd known all my life. Mom didn't rush over to help. She was by the kitchen counter, arms crossed, a faint smirk curling her lips. "Maybe next time," she said. "You'll keep your mouth shut when people compliment you. You always have to steal the light." Blood ran warm down my face. I pressed my sleeve against it and tasted iron and dust. I whispered, "I didn't say anything. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video." Chloe laughed, sharp, bitter, childish. "Exactly. You just stood there, letting them adore you." At church that morning, Mrs. Jennings had said I looked radiant lately. I'd blushed, said thank you, and moved on. Apparently, that was enough to make my sister boil. When I tried to get up, Dad's voice cut through the living room. "Sit down." He didn't look at me. His eyes were on the TV, but his tone carried the same weight as always, final, cold, and absolute. "You girls embarrass this family," he muttered. "Learn to behave." Behave. That word had been the leash around my neck since I was 10. I picked up a shard from the broken vase and stared at the reflection in it, my own eyes red, trembling, but still mine. Mom turned to Chloe. "Go clean yourself up, honey. You have that dinner with Mark's family tonight. Can't look emotional." Then to me, "And you, wipe your face before anyone sees what you made her do." What I made her do. I walked to the bathroom, hands shaking, blood mixing with sink water. For a moment, I watched it swirl down the drain and thought, they'll never apologize. Not once. That night, I wrapped the cut with gauze and sat on my bed, listening to their laughter downstairs. It was the same laughter they used when they told people we were a tight-knit family. When Chloe left for her dinner, Mom came into my room. "Next time, try not to provoke her," she said softly, as if offering advice instead of blame. "She's under pressure and you always show off without realizing." "I didn't." She raised a hand. "Don't argue, just understand." Understand. Behave. Apologize. I'd been doing all three my whole life. The next morning, I came down with a swollen cheek and silence in my throat. Dad glanced up once, then muttered, "You shouldn't have stood there like a queen." Chloe smiled into her cereal bowl. I turned away and poured my coffee. My hand trembled, but I didn't spill a drop. They thought they'd broken something inside me, but what they really did was light a fuse. Slow burning, quiet, unstoppable. When I walked out that door later that day, pretending to head to work, I already knew. This wasn't going to end with an apology. It would end with consequences. I didn't go to work that morning. I walked until my legs ached and my cheek throbbed under the bandage. Every stranger's glance felt like a question I couldn't answer. By the time I reached the park near the church, the benches were already warm from the sun. I sat there, staring at the chapel across the street, wondering how a place meant for peace had turned into a stage for humiliation. Inside my pocket was my phone, still buzzing from Chloe's messages. "Don't come home tonight." "Mom's mad you broke her vase." Her vase? That word made me laugh quietly. It wasn't about the vase. It was about control. Everything in that house was a prop in their little theater. Every compliment to me was a threat to her. Every silence a reason to strike. I unlocked the phone again and scrolled through old photos, family dinners, forced smiles, church picnics. In every one, I stood a little behind them, slightly out of focus. I realized that had been my place all along. Background. A gust of wind blew through the park, and for a moment, I felt something shift inside me. A calm, almost clinical realization. If I kept staying quiet, they would keep writing the story for me. I stood up and walked toward the church doors. The same people who had seen me bleed behind polite smiles were inside, greeting each other like nothing in the world hurt. When they saw me, they looked shocked. Mrs. Jennings hurried over. "Oh my goodness, what happened?" she whispered, glancing at the faint bruise peeking out from under my hair. "I fell," I said. It came out automatic, the lie I'd been trained to repeat, but then I stopped myself. "Actually, my sister hit me." Her face froze. "Your sister?" I nodded. "Because someone said something nice about me." There was a long, uncomfortable silence. Then she touched my arm gently. "Honey, you can't keep hiding in that house." That sentence stayed with me the whole day. When evening came, I went home. The front door was unlocked. It always was, because Dad said we had nothing worth stealing. I walked into the kitchen. Mom was cutting vegetables. Chloe was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Neither looked up. "Back from your walk?" Mom asked, her tone dry. "Yeah," I said. I needed air. Chloe smirked without looking up. "Did the compliments run out?" Something inside me went quiet, not weak, but heavy. I realized then that they didn't even see me as family anymore. I was their mirror, and they hated the reflection. That night, I packed a bag. Just clothes, my work ID, and the small cross pendant I'd kept since childhood. The one Grandma gave me before she died. She was the only one who ever called me good-hearted. When I left the house, Mom's voice floated down the hall. "Running away again?" "No," I said softly. "Just walking away for good." I didn't expect them to stop me, and they didn't. I spent the next week sleeping on a friend's couch, working overtime at the diner to cover rent. Every time I saw a family laughing at a table, I felt that old sting. But I also felt freedom. For the first time, nobody was telling me to behave. Then, one afternoon, something changed. Chloe came into the diner. She didn't recognize me at first. I was wearing the black uniform and my hair tied back. She looked thinner, tired. When our eyes met, her smile faltered. "You work here?" she said. I nodded. "And I'm good at it." She hesitated. "Mom's been sick. Dad's stressed. They keep fighting. You should come home." I almost laughed. "You mean you need help keeping the house together?" Her silence was my answer. That was the moment it clicked. The breaking point wasn't just the vase. It was the realization that they'd crumble without someone to absorb their cruelty. And this time, I wasn't going to volunteer. I said quietly, "Tell Dad I'm too busy shining." Her eyes widened and she left without another word. When the door swung shut behind her, I finally exhaled. It wasn't victory yet, but it was the first breath of freedom I'd taken in years. 3 months passed before I heard from them again. It was a Tuesday evening when I got the call, the kind that starts polite and ends desperate. Mom's voice on the other end sounded unfamiliar, trembling under the weight of pride. "Your father had an accident at the shop," she said. "We need help running things until he recovers." I didn't answer right away. The sound of dishes clattering and customers laughing filled the diner around me. My coworker called out, "Order ready, table 4." And I smiled back, calm. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. "Because you're family," she snapped, like it was a rule written in stone. I laughed softly. "No, Mom, I was staff." There was silence, then a shaky inhale. "Please, we can't do this without you. You managed fine when I was bleeding in the bathroom." I ended the call, but their voices lingered. For the first time, I didn't feel pain when I thought of them. Only clarity. I'd lived too long being the shadow in their light, and now that the light had burned out, they were the ones stumbling in the dark. Still, I went to see them, not to help, but to finish the story. The house looked smaller than I remembered, the paint peeling, the air stale. Chloe opened the door. Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. "You came." "I wanted to see the kingdom," I said. "It's quieter now." She swallowed hard. The living room was a mess. Unpaid bills, stacked high, the TV dark, Dad sitting in a chair with his leg in a brace. He looked older, smaller somehow. Mom hovered near the window, eyes red. When Dad saw me, his jaw tightened. "You're still working that job?" I'm managing the place now, I said. They gave me the position after the owner retired. Chloe's head snapped toward me. Manager? Yeah, turns out I didn't need family to get promoted. Dad's knuckles went white on the chair arms. You think you're better than us now? I tilted my head. No, I think I just stopped being less, Mom whispered. We're asking for help, not attitude. I asked for help too, I said softly, stepping closer. When I was bleeding on the floor, when you called it my fault, when you told me to hide my face because I made your favorite daughter look small. She looked down, guilt flickering across her face. Or maybe just fear. I'm not coming back, I said. But I brought something. From my bag, I took out an envelope, the kind thick with papers. Mom reached for it quickly like a lifeline, but when she opened it, her face froze. Inside were copies of transfer papers, the business license for Dad's shop, repossessed due to unpaid taxes. I'd found the notices weeks ago while running paperwork at my new job. I could have warned them. I didn't. You could have saved us, Dad growled, voice shaking. I could have, I said. Just like you could have saved me. I turned to leave. Chloe whispered, You're just like them. I stopped at the door and looked back. No, I learned from them that sometimes you have to let people feel what they made you feel. Outside, the air felt lighter. For years, I thought revenge meant shouting, proving, exposing. But standing there, hearing the echo of their silence behind me, that was louder than any scream. I walked away from that house and didn't look back. Weeks later, the diner got busier. People started calling it the friendliest place in town. I hung a small vase by the window, a new one, white ceramic with wildflowers. Every morning, sunlight hit it just right. It reminded me that broken glass can still reflect light, just not the kind my family ever gave me.